Hi, guys. Welcome back to Chronicles of a Therapist. I enjoyed my last episode and my last guest. Today, I wanted to jump in with a very interesting topic. So, I was talking to my little sister. I have a niece who is 9. I should be a better aunt. I don't be knowing how old people are. But anyway, so we were talking about, my niece is 9, and she is very quirky, very little, that generation's a little, them not 8, 9, they a little different. They're a little different. If you got 8, 9, 10-year-olds, y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so my niece is very, she's the only child, and me and my sister were talking about her inability to be quiet. And not in the sense of if you've had children, they're just like, oh, they're playing or whatever. My niece cannot sit in any silence. And so it made me think about, myself and my sister. Like, we don't have that struggle. Like, I could be quiet and it's fine. Even as a kid, like, we were able to play by ourselves and it wasn't. And so it really made me think about the importance of being able to sit with yourself. Now, when I say how extreme it is, my niece will literally make up noise. So my niece will just start talking. If you're in a car with a kid, at some point, if they got a phone or whatever, my niece will just start talking about irrelevant stuff. Like, yeah, the sky is blue, and because she doesn't like hearing her, like, she doesn't like noise. She doesn't like, and so it made me think about how does that relate to us as adults? And then I thought about people I've experienced, clients, and how that's really a thing. And so it makes me think, I said, why would people struggle in sitting in silence? So, in previous episodes, I've talked about just the ability to sit with yourself and how that looks and what happens when we sit with ourselves. We ended our last episode talking about how do you explore yourself? How do you figure out how to be vulnerable? How do you figure out your emotions and identify them? And then I thought about how a lot of people don't know how to sit with themselves, right? And so I feel as though I wanted to explore it with you guys and just kind of talk about the idea and maybe challenge some people who struggle with it. The idea that, are you scared of what happens when you sit with yourself? Are you fearful of the thoughts? Are you fearful of, maybe you got traumatic memories, maybe, and so I think about people that I've worked with who might have PTSD, who have had very traumatic lives and have experienced stuff, and how in the quietness, you're kind of stuck with yourself. And I've always told people, like, that moment when you're sitting at, like, laying in bed, whether you're on the couch, or that moment, like, right when you go to sleep, is kind of the pinnacle of the flood of all of the things that have to do with you, whether it's anxiety, whether it's I didn't do this, and I have no idea why. I bet you if I figured it out, I'd be a millionaire. Why that moment? But that moment, and I think for me, like, I do it too, even as a therapist, that is the moment where I literally go through the day, think about your to-do list, think about what's going on. You literally sit, and ironically, guess what happens with a lot of us adults? Guess what we do right before bed? We scroll, because it's a distraction from that moment of sitting with ourselves and thinking. And so when I think about learning about ourselves, when I think about growing and evolving, there is a way that you have to learn how to sit with yourself. And so I wanted to kind of give some pointers. One, talk about why people don't like it. I think, like I said, it's the trauma. It's probably anxiety too. Or you could struggle with some ADHD stuff, because a lot of people who are ADHD or have really bad anxiety, they need constant stimulation. They need to, like, I need to have the TV on. I need to have music. I need to have an earbud in. I need the consistency of other things to calm all of the noise, all of the thoughts, all the stuff that's going on in our heads, right? And so when I think about that, even with all things, that every new skill, whether you're an athlete, whether you're, a musician, every new skill that you have or you want to acquire, you got to do something different, right? So if you're listening to this, you're watching this, and you're a person who struggles sitting with yourself. One, I want you to think about, are you nervous about what happens when you sit with yourself? Are you nervous about those thoughts? Are you nervous about what you could possibly think about? Are you thinking about really negative thoughts? Are you thinking about, hey, I don't want to be here? Like, I think we don't give enough space to honor those moments. Whatever your thoughts are, they're yours. They're coming from you. They're you. That means I'm a parallel. If I'm afraid to sit with myself, then that would mean that I would be afraid of myself. And so if you think about it that way, are you scared of yourself? Are you scared of who you might become or who you have become or who you were at one point? So being able to sit with yourself can be scary. One thing I would encourage you to do is do it in the car. Like if you're trying to have this skill of sitting with yourself, I mean, if you think about it, it could be kind of weird to just sit on the couch with complete silence and get lost in your thoughts. Some people do that and can do it well, right? But a good place to start this skill to kind of explore and kind of like figure out what you're thinking about could be driving. I think driving is for most people, unless you have like some anxiety around driving, is a very mindless task, right? You get in the car, you got a routine, you just going, right? So it would be a good place for you to turn off your radio, not answer the phone, for you to just kind of explore and kind of sit with yourself because you're still doing stuff. So if you're somebody who is fearful of sitting with yourself and why not do it while you're driving? Because you're already on autopilot because you know you got to go to drop your kids off or whatever you're doing, go to work or whatever. You're already doing it, right? But I think driving you're doing a task that doesn't require that part of your brain. I mean, it does, but you can still explore what you got going on. And so I think it's a good place for you to start with the skill of sitting with myself. And it doesn't mean you got to do a whole 20, 30, 45-minute, however long your commute or your drive is. You can start with smaller spaces. Hey, I gotta go get this from the store right quick. That might be a smaller way of doing it. And like, oh, what came of that? I think it's a good place to start doing it in small increments. And then hopefully from that, you can sit and explore, well, what am I thinking about? What came of that short drive to get gas or short drive to go get some coffee or whatever the case may be? I think from there you can identify what else you got going on. I think a lot of us adults, I tell people all the time, we do not like intense emotions. And so some of us, and I'll include myself with that, don't like intense emotions. And that doesn't necessarily mean negative emotions. That means emotions. Like, I've met people who are fearful to be happy. Like the idea of happiness freaks them out. It's an intense emotion. So is pain. So is hurt. So is loss. But if we can sit with those intense emotions, we can learn about ourselves. We can learn, maybe I got some baggage from childhood, right? So I talk about my interactions with my parents and having a father. And I think more recently, because I'm dating, having a father who doesn't have emotions has left me here recently sit with myself a lot and literally sit with how I feel about emotion or relationships, how I interact with these relationships. Do I have healthy boundaries? Absolutely, yes. But even in that construct, like, man, Cash, you really been dating people with no emotions because they're safe. They're safe. People without emotions are safe in that they're not going to give you a pushback. They're not going to give you, if I am an intense individual, which I am, it's a fear of, for me, okay, my intensity and my emotions for somebody who is emotional, that might freak them the hell out. And they might be like, ooh, you might be crazy, right? And so for me and my sitting in this season, I've learned like, dang, I really was rocking with dudes with no emotions because I'm kind of intense. I'm an intense person emotionally. I'm intense. The whole being of Cass is intense. So my sitting with myself has had me sort out things as simple as an interaction, a conversation with the guy I'm dating, and how like I have compartmentalize this, and this. And so for me, that's a gift, and a curse for me is I can put stuff in boxes, and people have asked me how to do that. I don't know. It just happens, whatever. But for me, I have put relationships and experiences in boxes. And when something happens in another relationship, guess what you do or what I do? I pull from these boxes, and now I have well, I can't respond this way because this guy or this or whatever, right? And so from my sitting, I've learned that I do that. Like I literally take, and all of us, I believe, do that. That's a part of growth and having life experiences to say, well, the last guy I talked to, when this happened, we generalize everything. And so from my sitting in this season, I've learned like, I can't, it's not even fair. Like when you even think about it, you think about baggage, you think about how when you come into a relationship or you're dating or whatever, you bring all of that old stuff with you. It's so not fair. Granted, probably 90%, 98.999% of us do it because it's an automated thing. You just kind of like, a lot of times we do grieve and go through the losses of relationships, but have we taken the time to sit and say, okay, I didn't feel safe in this relationship. I couldn't be authentic. I couldn't be who I was. So if you've not done that process in sitting with yourself in relationships, and that can be intimate, that could be your relationship with your parents, that could be relation. I've had moments where I was able to sit and really pick apart. I talked about my brother, the last episode with my mom. Pick apart your relationships with if your siblings or those cousins or whoever those relationships are in that sitting. It can kind of seem like I'm the type of person, personally, I always say I don't care about stuff, but even people who don't care about stuff, we care. I think we have a defense mechanism to not care so that we don't get hurt. And I think that's just my own personal, like, whatever, I don't care, whatever, I don't care. But my guard of not being vulnerable and not caring means that people can't hurt me. So I'm protecting myself. So even in my sitting or even in your sitting, you might be able to break some of those things down, and not so that you can be a completely different person, but so that you can know what's best for you in this next season as you're growing and evolving. I think that a lot of us say we want to grow and evolve, but like I said, with any new skill, there's a learning curve. There's I tried it, it didn't work. I got to recalibrate. You know what I'm saying? So if you're able to take the time to sit with yourself, you can start these processes to be able to unravel, if you will, your relationship, and not just your relationship, you can unravel you and why the inner workings of why you are the way that you are, and not so that, let me fix it, because I don't want y'all to think that I'm just trying to make y'all undo yourself and be a completely new person. I'm definitely the person who believes that you need to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes that takes you sitting and digesting and exploring you, because the common denominator in life is you. I can't fix or manage nobody else. And a lot of us struggle with, how do I got to do this for this. No, the only thing in life, in this world, that we can manipulate, if you will, is ourselves. And I think when we as adults understand, I mean, even if you are a parent, guess what you really can't even do with your kids? You can't, and those of you who have kids, you're going to have that one strong-willed child who you're going to be trying to manipulate and formulate, and they're going to be like, nah, get out of here, I'm not doing that, right? And so at the basis of it, if you learn how to sit with yourself and unravel and undo some things from your past, from your upbringing, and you can acknowledge, like, dang, there is a reason why I have these certain traits and things that happen, but maybe you want to stay stuck there. I will position, how has that been working for you? I'll position, how has that been working in your relationship, in your work relationships, in your peer relationships, in your financial relationships? How has the things that you've been doing, have they been working in a space where you feel from your soul level satisfied with your interactions with people? And the reason why I said your soul level is it's super easy to be like, man, I don't care, whatever. And I've said that in my life. But when I really sat with myself, I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that people can pull from me and people can get emotions out of me, you know? And so when I sit with myself, I can do that. And I can see, I talk to the guy that I'm dating and I tell him I have a like almost a checklist with myself with interactions with people, him, whoever. And I literally like, okay, this said thing happened. How does it make me feel? Or what previous experience is making me feel this way. And I know that that is probably different, but that's just kind of how I've done it because it helps me to own my stuff, I guess. And a lot of times people don't know how to do that. That's one of the skills that I have worked on perfecting. Like, I never want my baggage or my stuff to be somebody else's stuff as happenstance, right? No. So for me, sitting with myself has allowed me to stop and think about how this experience, how this interaction, how this text message, how that reaction or interaction with somebody affected me. If you don't sit with yourself, you won't know. You have no idea, or you're reactive. So you're just popping off at people or responding without being able to know why I responded or didn't respond this way. So I definitely think that as adults we don't do that. And I also will give and I'll validate as adults, if you're in a relationship, you're married, you got children, you got businesses, it's hard. I'll say it's hard because not a lot of times you have the time to sit with yourself because you are engaged in interacting and caring for kids and caring for your significant other and making sure work. And so it does make it very, very difficult of being able to sort that. But there's so many benefits of learning how to do it. And so I definitely want you guys to at least try. It's almost like a mindful moment. Those of us with Apple Watches have it's a little mindfulness thing. And I'll admit it's super annoying because I don't know if it's related to your heart rate or what, but it be random. And from my experience, it's usually when I'm thinking about it's a lot going on. And then it's like, why don't you take a mindful moment and breathe? I don't want to breathe right now. Okay. Nobody told you to try to make me sit and do some deep breathing. But ironically, there's all these studies that people who take mindful moments are well off. They're more emotionally healthy because they've had moments to sit with themselves and regulate their emotions. So Apple must be doing something. Cause I sure know it be, man, what I mean it's random and all y'all Samsung might do it too, but it come random and it's annoying because I know what it is, I don't want to. But in the spirit of learning to sit with yourself, I would encourage you, if you have an Apple Watch, a smartwatch, or something that prompts you to do it, probably should do it. Probably should do it because I bet you it'll help you recalibrate and it'll help you refocus on what it is that you need to focus on. So I think that is a good skill that we don't even know that we need it. And those of us who have succumbed to smartwatches probably need it. Probably. I bet you people who without smartwatches probably maybe do it without prompting. But I think when you think about sitting with yourself, that's a good way to do it. Driving, like I said, learning how to do that skill, driving. They also have, I think people don't realize the importance of meditation and or don't know how to do it, right? So if you struggle with sitting yourself, the idea of trying to meditate is probably like, what you mean meditate? Like, I don't even want to sit with myself as is. You want me to sit and close my eyes and deep breathe? And no. So I think like they have all of these different apps that can guide you, like guided meditation, I think. And I'm not going to say pick one because everybody's meditation practice needs to be different and identify for what works for you. So for me, I personally don't like guided meditation. That's my own personal. I just don't. But I do listen to ambient music when I am sitting with myself because it's the nerd in me. Like they do different hertz levels, does stuff with your brain and heals anxiety and depression. Another conversation. But I think it's a good skill, even if I'm learning to sit with myself. Maybe I can't be completely silent. Get you some, that spa music. Ambient music is the stuff they play at the spa places. The like calming or ocean waves or something that can literally lead you to calm yourself down enough to get to that place of thinking about you. And it doesn't, like I said, I don't think when you sit with yourself, it's a practice that you need to start in short increments so that you can learn to do it more. So somebody who doesn't like sitting with herself or is impossible to do it, you're not going to be able to do it for 15 minutes. You're just not. It's not going to happen. Somebody going to call you, your phone, your watch going to go off. It's not going to happen. But if you can start in small increments, if you can do 60 seconds, if you can do 60 seconds and you can consistently do that, you can add on to it. And I wonder if you try doing that, if it would help you feel more grounded and feel more connected with you. So that is kind of what I wanted to explore with you guys today, because I think it's important. I think as a new year, the spring is finally here. Hopefully in Ohio, we can get out of this snowy, cold weather. But I think it's a great thing to kind of start with. And I want you to kind of do this with me as I'm also increasing my sitting with myself moments as I kind of work through my own personal stuff. So I hope that you guys join me along. I definitely will make sure to check in with you guys as the year progresses to see how that's going for you. Also, probably am going to have these conversations with future guests, but I thank you guys for listening, joining me in my let's sit and think about what we got going on to be the better version of ourselves. And don't forget to allow your passion to propel your purpose. You guys can reach me on Instagram at cnshep_chronicles. And I will check you guys at the next episode. Thanks for watching.